strongly divisive U.S. government report leads off our show this Wednesday. It involves controversial interrogation techniques used by the Central Intelligence Agency in the wake of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks on the U.S. The report was released yesterday by the Senate Intelligence Committee. Its job is to oversee and monitor the intelligence activities of the U.S. government. In order to get information from terrorism suspects, the report says the CIA would deprive them of sleep, sometimes for days, sometimes in uncomfortable positions. It says some suspects were beaten and some were waterboarded when water is poured onto someone's face and head to instill a fear of drowning. Critics, including President Obama, call these methods torture and say they're ineffective in getting information. Defenders, including the CIA, call the methods effective and say they helped prevent terrorist attacks. Yesterday, U.S. security officials warned law enforcement that the report could influence extremists and terrorists to attack the U.S.
Thousands of U.S. military personnel on heightened alert, anticipating the release of a report by the Senate Intelligence Committee on top-secret interrogation tactics and torture of CIA detainees.
Our own intelligence community has assessed that this will cause violence and death.
The Marines are positioned in key areas, ready to respond to potential violent reactions directed at U.S. embassies and military bases around the globe. Believed to be included in the report, details of waterboarding and other interrogation tactics in the years after 9/11. The CIA believes the so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, including waterboarding, provided key information that prevented other terror attacks and led to the capture of Osama bin Laden. But the report questions the effectiveness of those procedures. Critics of the $50 million report question the timing of its release.
When would be a good time to release this report? And it's difficult to imagine one, particularly because of the painful details that will be included. But again, the president believes that it is important for us to be as transparent as we possibly can be about what exactly transpired, so we can just be clear to the American public and to people around the world that something like this should not happen again.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney dismissed the Senate report, saying the CIA's interrogation methods were, quote, absolutely, totally justified. Cheney, who hasn't read the report, strongly defended CIA leaders, arguing the program itself was worth it, adding, as far as I'm concerned, they ought to be decorated, not criticized. That sentiment was echoed by former President Bush.
These are patriots. And whatever the report says, if it diminishes their contributions to our country, it is way off base.
Next today, gas prices. They're free-falling, and it looks like they're only going to get lower. The U.S. national average for a gallon of gas was $3.26 1 year ago. It's about $2.67 now. By next spring, analysts predict it'll be below $2 a gallon. Why? U.S. oil production, for one thing, it's booming. Even though a method called hydraulic fracturing or fracking is controversial, it's yielding a lot of oil. Also, the price of crude oil, the biggest factor in the price of gas, it's dropping. There's less demand for crude in Asia and Europe, where economies have slowed down. All this is good for us drivers. It's not for countries whose economies depend largely on crude oil sales. The Smithsonian Institution, the largest museum complex in the world, has a new way for you to wrap your mind and your hands around history. It's using three-dimensional imaging to scan everything from Abraham Lincoln's facial structure to a T-Rex toe. And if you have access to a 3D printer, you can use it to create replicas of priceless and matchless museum artifacts.
I hate to look at the crass commercialization part of this, but we're a few years away from like really, really good Halloween costumes.
It's up and coming, yeah.
How long does the president have to sit for this?
It took from the minute he walked into the room until we were done with the process 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
So here we've lured Jake Tapper out of his natural habitat and we are scanning him. So what we have here is a handheld 3D scanner that is part of the technology that we used when we actually were able to scan the President of the United States. What it's doing is it's projecting a pattern onto the subject and then cameras are actually tracking the way that that projection deforms, and that's how you get a 3D image. And we're actually collecting about 16 3D images per second.
What 3D capture really represents is scientific, accurate measurements. So for us, it's a way to document our collections, and it's a way to engage the public in these collections. And those two life masks tell an incredibly compelling story about how the Civil War aged that man. And now that we have that data available and we allow schools to download it and 3D print from that data, it's a completely new way for students to connect to history. They can 3D print a Lincoln life mask, they can hold it in their hands, they can trace the deep furrows on Lincoln's face to understand the impact the history that man lived through had on him.
From the Gulf Coast to the Northwest U.S., it's time to take roll. E.D. White Catholic High School kicks things off for us today. They're watching in Thibodaux, Louisiana. The Cardinals are perched for CNN Student News. Arvada, Colorado is right near the capital of Denver, and it's home to the Dragons of Drake Middle School. And Nampa is a city near Idaho's border with Oregon. We've got the Wildcats watching there from Columbia High School. There is no stronger bond between man and dog than that formed during war. The quote is from Penn Farthing. He's a former sergeant with Britain's Royal Marines, and he was chosen by viewers as CNN's Hero of the Year. Farthing received $125,000 for his cause, which continues to grow, bringing troops and their pets together.
As the troop sergeant, I was there to motivate the guys, but no one was doing that for me, so my time sat with this dog was just a way of de-stressing and put my head back in the game. One more piece. When I actually returned from duty, getting Nowzad out of Afghanistan became its own little kind of military operation. I owed it to him to do whatever I could to get him to safety. Although I had rescued the dog, I wanted to actually still do something for Afghanistan. I want to help the people and the dogs. We found a little puppy. You're all on your own, aren't you? There's absolutely no way on this planet we can leave this little thing here. Hey guys, hello. The mission of the Nowzad Dogs charity is to prevent rabies by controlling the stray dog population. But one of the things we never realised would happen would be the amount of soldiers who actually come to us asking for our assistance to rescue a dog or a cat. When we get the call from a soldier, we have to get the dog from wherever the soldier is in Afghanistan to our shelter in Kabul. We'll neuter or spay the dog. We vaccinate against a variety of diseases. This is Rex. Little Rex should hopefully be going off pretty soon and working out the flights and when actually the soldier will be back in country to be able to pick the dog up. Then the animal starts its journey from Kabul to the soldier's home country.
They start to bring these crates out. I'm looking for Cadence, and I finally see her, and I pull her out, and I'm hugging her and kissing her. Yeah, I was just so excited. I was even more excited that she remembered me.
I can't believe it that they're here.
She offered so much companionship to me overseas, and I just wanted to give her a better life. She's a huge part of the transition being easier for me.
We've now rescued over 650 dogs or cats for serving soldiers from around the world who've been in Afghanistan. My connection with Afghanistan stayed alive because of Nowzad the dog. For me, every time I look at him, it just makes me smile because I could never have dreamed that we'd be doing something like this in Afghanistan.
Before we go, Christmas came early at Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia. Santa brought popcorn, fruit, and edible flowers, treats the animals wouldn't normally get as part of a special celebration. It's not just about getting snacks though. The chimpanzees, giraffes, and tree kangaroos, ever seen one of those before? They got gifts designed as puzzles and challenges to keep them engaged and thinking as they enjoyed unwrapping. Of course, they could re-gift them at a white elephant party, and they might be lying if they said they hadn't monkeyed around with them or kangarooed it into them or simply lemured them alone. That would be in bad taste and make for a bad gift to present. I'm Carl Azush for CNN Student News.